Okay guys, we're going to start assembling our box now. So I've let these dry for a day or so. And so I've got my two sides, or my two end pieces, I guess. These are my end pieces. And I would suggest just leaving them stacked as much as you can. I got to decide which ones I'm going to do first. And then I've got my two, what I'm calling my top and bottom. And then I've got my sides. Now for this particular thing, so these are were supposed to be my sides, top and bottom, and end pieces, but because these are my biggest pieces, I'm just going to use them as the base right now for building, just for ease of building. So what I'm talking about is I'm going to use this as the base, and I'm going to actually probably just keep this one on my tray here, because then I can move it around more easily. So then I have two sides. So you have to have two of each, because you need 6 sides to your box. So you can put your paper templates up here to where they don't get all gooey. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to assemble the sides. So like I said, I'm kind of changing up what I'm calling my sides, but for you guys, it doesn't really matter. So here's my base, and I want to build them on top of the base. So I'm taking my base here, and I'm going to put them on top of it. Can you see that? There we go. The reason for this is because it's like building a house. You want it to be on the best foundation that you can. So I'm going to take this. You need to have some water, and you're going to get that area wet, and you're going to score it up with your scoring device, whatever that may be for you. And you'll want to get a little bit of fresh clay out. Not a ton, just a pinch for now. And then I'm going to get this piece wet where I want to attach it. Now think about your texture a little bit. Oh, those little itty bitty things in there, I don't know what that was. So I'm going to score that up. Sometimes they go off camera, I don't even know, so bear with me here a little bit. So I'm going to take this that I scored, and I scored it up real good here, and I'm going to just attach it to the edge. And I'm going to kind of just, make sure that it's, I'm pushing down on the top here, but I'm also like making sure it's flush with the edge here. You want to make sure it doesn't bow at all. So you guys can see I attached that there. And then on the outside here, I don't know if you guys can see this here. On the outside here, I'm going to blend this in. So you can just take your finger and kind of blend that seam in. You want to make it look like there's no seam at all. So be careful with your texture depending on how your texture looks. My texture kind of blends away anyway right there, so I'm just going to go with that. So I'm going to just kind of edge it up and edge it down. Smush it around. Make sure it's nice and straight as much as I can. It's okay if your paper towel gets a little stuck in there. It's fine. And then now that I've got this in here, I've got this inside seam that I want to take care of. And I'm just going to roll an itty bitty baby coil. Now, because this is an itty bitty baby coil and I'm going to be smooshing it into the seam, I'm just going to get this little baby coil wet. There's already slip and scored on the inside here. So I'm just going to set it in there and just kind of press it in there for now. And then I'm going to take my finger and I'm going to hold the outside edge. I'm going to press here so it doesn't smush like completely away from me. And I'm just going to blend it in. I'm just kind of blending it in with my finger on the inside, holding the outside so it doesn't get away from me here. And I can just pinch it in. And you can see I've just smoothed it in there, and then I can take my fingernail and kind of blend it into where you don't see any seams. Just nice and easy. And then just make sure that this again is straight up and down, because like sometimes it tends to get a little off balance, which is fine. We can fix it. Okay, and then I'm going to turn it around and I'm going to do this side as well. Oh, make sure you grab the right edges. And then I want my textures to match, so I'm going to make sure that I slip and score this side down. So again, get this part wet. Can you see that? It's a little tricky here, my little workstation. When I hit video, it zooms in a little bit. Okay, and I get this part wet here. Score these up real good. Then I'm going to take that, make sure again that my texture is correct. And I'm just going to wiggle that into place. And then again, take the edge here and just blend that in to where you don't see an edge. Well, that side went a lot better. And I'll try to hold it on the side here for you to see it. So you see I can blend that in. There's some weird creature making noises outside the garage. I don't know if you guys can hear that. It's funny. And then again, just make sure that the edges are nice and tall, straight as much as they can be. And then I've got my end pieces here. Now, sometimes you might need to take a break here. It just kind of depends. And my end pieces, they fit perfectly to the outside, but we want them to be to the inside. Everything needs to be on top of the base. And the whole reason for that is because we want our lid, which is still actually a little wet here. We want our lid to fit perfectly. And so if they're to the outside, they're going to leave a gap like this. And we want it to sit on top of the base. So what we're going to do is we're going to trim these pieces down a little bit. So what I like to do is I like to take a little cheater route here. And I kind of set one side to the inside. And then I just kind of eyeball this here. And I just make a thumbnail mark. And I'm like, okay, that's where I need to trim it down. And I went a little bit bigger than I actually think it needs to go. Like I'll be taking less than I think it needs off. Mainly because I don't want to take too much. If I take too much, then I need to make a new piece, and that is unfortunate. So let's see my mark. And it would be really cool if you guys had, square pieces to do this with. Like all I have is this giant metal piece here as a square piece, but you could line it up and you would be able to trim it off better, nice and squared off. But that's for like woodworking and construction piece and stuff, and it's just not really going to work out for pottery. But if you had like an angle or something, that would work really good. All right, so I think that's going to be perfect. Nice. And this edge is just a little bit tall, but it's because when we cut with our butter knife is not very accurate. So that is why. So now that I'm going to attach this piece, now I have to do all three sides. Can you see that? Okay, good. So I'm going to do all three sides. I can't get my sponge in there. And I'm going to slip and score all those sides. So I'm going to slip and score this side and this side. Make sure, see how I'm going in like a couple different directions? You want to get in at least a couple different directions when you're slipping and scoring. Oh, I didn't do the little coil. We'll do that too. Goodness gracious, I'm getting ahead of myself already. I was so excited to put on the sides. Okay, we'll take our little coil here. We'll get it wet. And we'll put it right in here. And again, just kind of smooshing it in there. Holding both sides. You gotta hold both sides, otherwise your wall will just fall off of there. Okay, so now that I've done that, now I can put this in there. And I'm gonna kind of press the sides in because I want them to really get nice and attached there. Make sure that you're even on the back side here. And then you're going to blend that in. So you can take your thumbnail and just make sure they're nice and blended in there. My little paper towel's getting in the way. Like I said, the idea is to make it look like there's no seams whatsoever. Okay. So I've got that in there, and now I would do my coils. So you can use your spare clay, or you can use these little bits here. So I'm going to take my little coil, get it wet, push it along the edges. So I'm going to do the bottom and the top, and the sides. You want to do all of them. You can absolutely get away with sometimes not adding these coils, but it's going to make your box just so much more stable if you use them. And it's okay if they kind of come out the top. You can just pick them off there. Itty bitty little coils. Because the box is pretty small, so we don't need a giant coil. We're not trying to make the box like less big. We're just trying to fill in those corners and stuff so that they're going to be more stable. Ugh, I'm just making little nail marks everywhere in here. We'll have to come back through and clean it up with a sponge. All right, so blend everything together real nice. All right, so you can see that I blended it in there. Like this corner needs a little love. And I blended the outside pretty good. I'll come back and clean up more edges and whatnot. And then I have this side to do. Again, we need to trim up this little end piece. So I'm going to just kind of stick it in there and kind of see about where I need it. Come back through and trim it with a straight edge. And then we'll score those edges up. Make sure you get water on all the edges. Where's my score? There we go. All right, and then I'll put this in here. Again, making sure I'm all the way to the edge and just press that up nice and tight on both sides. And then you can use your thumbnail. Sometimes you have to hold the inside so that you don't mess up the shape of your box. Now your box is going to be one of the most technical projects that you do, just in the sense of like lots of measurements and precise edges and all that jazz. But the other ones, they'll be a little bit more flexible in what you guys want to do. Then don't forget to put your coils in there and blend them all in. It's trickier and trickier when you have a small box like this, because you kind of get your fingers in the little corners. So make sure you get your coils wet and blend them all through. So once you guys have all these corners on, then I would set it aside and let it sit for a day, just like we did before. My garage is really cold actually right now, and I think that's why like my stuff didn't really dry out very much, and my Ziploc bag is just apparently really good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap this one up in a paper towel again, because it's my lid, and I need it to be a little bit more. I'm going to use a fresh paper towel so it like wicks more moisture away from it. So I'm going to put that on here. And then I'm going to put it in my bag again, but I'm not going to seal it because I know I'll come back to it very soon. I'm going to set this stuff in here and I'm going to just kind of leave it slightly open. You guys can't see it really, it's off screen, but I'm just going to like maybe go like halfway seal because I don't want too much moisture to come out of it, but I need some moisture to come out of it for sure. So I'm going to leave it a little air vented because these Ziploc bags are working too good. Usually in the classroom, we just use small garbage bags. All right, so next time we will attach the lid and cut it off. See you then.